It is Newstalk KGVO, and it's time for the Last Best Beer Show on 101.5 FM and 1290 AM, and your host, Ryan Newhouse.
Thank you. I'm excited to be back this week talking about beer, talking about Montana, talking about Missoula. And I don't know if you're thirsty yet, but we've got some cool brewfests. Brewfest season is upon us.
When is it not upon us, my friend?
That's true. You know, if you, I like the Brewfest because you get a good bang for your buck, but you're trying a lot of different beers and you're around a lot of like-minded people.
Well, I like it because you're also supporting local, which is, you know, you can't get better than that.
Nope, not at all. Hey, if you haven't made your Valentine's date plan yet, short drive over to Phillipsburg, or P-burg, as some people call it. But they have their own Brewfest in Phillipsburg.
On Valentine's weekend?
On Valentine's Day.
That's a Sunday this year.
It is a Sunday. Sunday, perfect timing. From noon until 6 p.m. on February 14th is the 4th annual Phillipsburg Brewfest, and it's hosted by the Phillipsburg Ice Association, and it's held at the town hall. The cost is only $30 per person to enter, and I believe that includes unlimited samples. But what's also nice is it's not just beer, but they do have some distilleries coming as well. Live music. Our good friends over at Phillipsburg Brewing Company will surely be there.
And it's always a fun little town to be able to visit anyways.
Great town.
And the fishing right now is actually really good too.
There you go. Spend a weekend. Discovery ski area. Good times up there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, go say hi to our friends at Phillipsburg Brewing Company and enjoy this Brewfest that's coming up. So just beyond that, right after you recover from February 14th, another Brewfest. This one's in Missoula.
Woohoo, Karis Park.
Yes, Karis Park. Winter Brewfest at Karis Park. And this is on a Friday night. I like that Friday night time, 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. on February 19th. And they're going to have over 40 Montana-only beers. And I like that switch. They're really focusing on Montana-made beers.
Again, local.
Local and local. That's the big Brewfest where they have those fire barrels out there. And I met the guy who cuts those custom for the MDA. And he's out there with his torch. And so, yeah, you fill up and it's a big circle of people that are around there drinking good beer. And
well, that sounds fun.
It's good.
I missed it last year, so.
Can't beat it. Sponsored by the Kettle House Brewing Company and the MDA and others. And the admission for that one is $12. You get your glass, you get 2 drink tokens, and you can buy additional tokens 2 for $3 as well. And 40 delicious beers. Usually there's some special releases. And it's usually when Red Dread from Bitterroot Brewing Company is released. It is their Imperial Red, and I love it. It's one of my favorite seasonals. So lots of brewfests on the near horizon.
And don't forget Craft Beer Week as well in April, at the end of April, right?
I am so ready. Yes, end of April, April 30th to May 7th this year. Missoula Craft Beer Week, tons and tons of events. So we've got a cool show. We've got some local craftsmen in on on the show today. We also have some former Missoulian homebrewers that have turned pro and have a cool Montana brewery. And we're going to get into a little bit of legal talk with a good friend of mine, a beer lawyer, a craft beer lawyer, and he's out in South Carolina. We're going to chat with him about some new federal law that some people might care about and some people might not, but it will be fun nonetheless. This week in the studio, we've got a special pair of guests that have made something that's pretty darn cool, and these are the Growler Girdle. And I have John and Jacob from Florence, Montana, who have brought in a couple of these. We will have some pictures to show them, but welcome to the Last Best Beer Show, guys. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you brought in and what is the Growler Girdle?
All right, thanks for having us. So the Growler Girdle, we take a standard 64-ounce glass beer growler, and then we surround it with wood and a copper banding. It's permanently encased in there, water resistant. You can hand wash it, hand dry it. Don't put it in the dishwasher. Some people would try that, but we say that just to make sure. They're all uniquely numbered on the bottom, so each one of them has a number starting from 1 going up to about 150 right now, as well as a hand brand on there. We do custom options, so if you want to put like an anniversary date on there or something like that, we can get that engraved for you. For Valentine's Day, we're recommending people buy these as a flower vase that doubles then as a gift afterwards. So you go get flowers in there, give it to your wife or girlfriend, and you get to keep the beer growler afterward.
It's a win-win.
It's exactly. A win-win. Leave it to a guy to come up with that idea, but yes. We like it.
Good for you guys.
It's about 8 different types of wood. So we go blue pine all the way up to our most expensive, which is antique barnwood. We've also got zebra wood, which is from Africa, aromatic cedar, which is really striking, kind of on a red and white mix to that wood. Another walnut.
Another really cool one we're doing right now is a reclaimed fir from an old homestead on our property. We ripped up the floors, and it was tongue and groove floors. So what we do is we get rid of all the nails, plane that stuff down, and you get some gorgeous black rust spots on it, and you get a lot of character to those ones. Those ones are actually our entry-level ones. They're really beautiful, and they do really good with customization, too.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm seeing the two that you brought in, different woods, and they're gorgeous too. They look like a traditional like oak barrel that you'd have whiskey in or something like that surrounding this glass growler, and you're keeping it protected. It's just beautiful. But then there's going to be some insulation qualities to it, right? The idea is, do you want to keep beer cold?
Yeah, there is. We just did a little test yesterday to kind of see what would happen if we took a regular growler, just glass, no insulation on it or anything like that, and then took a growler girdle, took it out of the fridge, started at about 49.5 degrees, and every hour we just took temperature readings, and within the first hour you saw about a 4.5 degree difference where the girdle was keeping it cooler. You get to about 3 hours, and you get to about the 5.5 degree difference. The colder you start it at, the longer the growler girdle keeps it cooler, and the greater the temperature difference between a growler girdle and just a standard glass growler.
Great.
Yeah, but let's be honest, who keeps beer in a growler that long? So
No.
It's true. We do have resealable caps, though, to kind of help with that. They help keep some of the freshness in there. So
Good idea. I hardly make it out of the brewery just to make it legal so I can
Exactly.
actually consider it off-premise
Yeah.
consumption. Very nice. Great idea. Gorgeous product. Where can people find these? How can they get them, especially in time for Valentine's Day? Because everybody's shopping now. Not everybody waits until February 13th.
It's true. Hopefully I won't wait that long this year. But you can go online to thegrowlergirdle.com. You can place your orders on there, including custom work. So if you want to get something engraved on there, there's a place to enter it on there. Sooner you do the custom work, the better, because it's a little bit longer turnaround time, because we have to do that in an earlier stage of production.
Okay.
But that costs about $7 additionally per growler to do that, and it's about a 3 by 3 inch area that we do that on.
Excellent. Good.
And we're so close to Missoula. If you guys order these, don't worry about getting it. We will deliver it to your door.
So there should be no shipping if you're in the immediate local area.
You can't beat that. We'll throw a link up on the Last Best Beer Show Facebook page and look for some pictures of these on our Instagram account. And John, Jacob, thank you so much for coming up here and showing these. These are absolutely beautiful.
Thanks for having us.
Love craft beer and want to learn how to brew your own? Take this online course to get insider tips from Montana brewers and top secret recipes for local favorites.
On the phone, I've got a good friend of mine, Brooke Bristow, who is with Bristow Beverage Law. He's out in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina. Does have some ties to Montana, but more importantly, he likes beer just as much as I do. So I brought him on the show. Welcome, Brooke. How are you?
Well, thank you, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here, and certainly a pleasure to be speaking to all the great listeners and beer enthusiasts out in Montana.
Oh, and there are many. I mean, I tell you, you guys, you've been, I'm referencing your wife, but you are familiar with Montana and the Missoula area. Is that correct?
Oh, certainly. My wife for several years was a meteorologist out at one of the stations in Missoula, and we got to spend a lot of great time out there and experience the beer culture. Actually, a lot of it is kind of what kind of shaped my thinking and kind of led me to do what I've done in South Carolina in terms of, just helping out our Brewers Guild, and ended up starting my own law practice devoted exclusively to food and beverage law, especially in the craft beer space. So thank you, Missoula Breweries.
Awesome. I love it. Lots of beers paved the way. You know, that's what I really like about craft beer and what you and our roles in it, although different details, it allows people to kind of come in and even make a business without having to make beer. We can appreciate it. We can help support it. We can promote it. We can do all kinds of things. We can drink it, of course. But I like that aspect of the craft beer industry.
It's the ultimate collaboration industry, which doesn't have to be a collaborative beer.
Well said.
So many good ideas come through just sitting around drinking a beer and just talking. I mean, I like to say that kind of our breweries and brew pubs are really slowly becoming the new town halls and community centers of America, because that's where things are getting done and ideas are getting pushed and ultimately are seeing things come to realization. So keep drinking, folks.
That's right. That's the takeaway. Awesome. Well, you've got a list of credentials here. Like we said, you are you're a one-man show, right, for Bristow Beverage Law Firm. You are a lawyer by trade,
Right.
And then also the executive director of the South Carolina Brewers Guild.
That's right.
So making things happen, and So each week I do like to talk about beer and food because I think that they go well together, and I enjoy both of them equally. But I wanted to talk about something I read in the news through the Charlotte Observer, and you were quoted in, and it's just something for us to be aware of because it might impact us. But the idea is about counting calories, because there is a federal law that is requiring chain restaurants and grocers to provide nutritional information for all available beers on tap. So can you kind of, I don't know, explain that law and how it's going to affect beer?
Yeah, let's break it down a little bit. So under the new health regulations, we are now seeing that chain restaurants, like you said, are going to be required to post calorie information. So when you go, and these chain restaurants, that is defined as having 20 more locations. So, so in Missoula, that would be something like, an Applebee's or a Buffalo Wild Wings. It's not going to apply to places like, a Biga Pizza or, going to a bar like, the Rhino or Tamarack or something like that. That's not going to apply to them. This is going to apply to kind of the bigger spaces.
Okay.
So what the new regs say is that not only on the menu where you're going to have, these are the calories in my club sandwich. That's also going to apply to beer. So if you have it on draft, if you have it in a can, whatever the restaurant is going to be selling, they need to have that calorie information. And not only do they need calorie information, because the calories are the only thing that's going to appear on the menu, but they're also being required under the regs to, if somebody happens to ask for more nutritional information, then they're going to be required to have something that will say, the things you'd find on a label, like the total fat, the total carbohydrates, proteins, that type of thing. So that's going to apply to the beers as well. But here's where it gets even worse: is not only is it going to apply to just whatever beer that you happen to make, but it's also going to apply to different sizes of beer. So let's say, for example, the restaurant we sell these 12-ounce cans, 16-ounce cans. We sell it on draft in a pint, but we also sell it in a 10-ounce snifter. Well, that's great, but you're going to have that information for all of those sizes of beers that are sold out of that restaurant, which means you have to have the information 4 separate times, but it's obviously going to differ a little bit just depending on how much you have in there. So what that ultimately means is that's going to cost a lot of money to have these beers tested.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the big issue right now is that craft brewers, many of whom are smaller folks who don't have the resources that some of the bigger guns might have, are going to get pushed out of these restaurants just because I don't want to spend $1,000 for every single core beer that I make. That's kind of where a lot of the frustration is coming right now for these things.
Understandably, and we will, for the listeners to know, we'll post a link to this article that I found on the Charlotte Observer. We'll put it on our Facebook page at the Last Best Beer Show. But in this article, it is saying, that labs can perform these needed tests for about $600 a pop, and it may take weeks for the breweries to receive the results. But as an alternative, if you wanted to create your own in-house lab for that, the equipment could be upwards of $100,000.
Right.
To be doing this, and
a lot of larger craft brewers already have labs in house, so they might be able to absorb that a little bit easier. And I keep hearing murmurs that some are going to allow like smaller brewers in their areas to maybe take advantage of that, which is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
More good news is these don't go into effect until the end of the year, so not until December of this year, 2016. So there is time to kind of get things together, get houses in order, and figure out, what beers are we going to push in these restaurants.
Okay. Yeah. To vote on a few. I was thinking as I was just reading that little piece about the costs, but also that it's taking weeks. There are many of the beer drinkers out there that really prefer fresh beers and need to know, for IPAs in particular, there's a freshness quality to it. And if you make a beer and then you're sitting on it for weeks just to get the results back, that's...
Yeah, you might not know. And then another thing to keep in mind is, a lot of times with craft beer, there is variation batch to batch. We haven't exactly gotten guidance on what that means. I want to say that it's just, if we get it tested, that's what it's going to be. They're pretty precise about, we want this to be you can do a specific calorie range or something like that. But, what happens if it differs dramatically batch to batch? We don't have an answer to that yet, but it's certainly going to be concerning and potentially limiting a lot of folks and pushing them out of restaurants, which gives people less selection. And then there's also the issue of what happens to Joe craft drinker when he finds out that what the calories in his IPA or his Imperial Stout actually are. Is there going to be a drop off from that to, say, like a mixed drink or something that
sure
actually won't be required to post calorie information?
Oh, interesting. So, yeah. We want awareness, we want information, and then but we want to make sure that it's also presented in a fair way for people to make them. And one of the things, interestingly, I was researching into it more and more these days, is that there are many health benefits to beer that you don't find in other alcoholic beverages as much. And I'll throw some of those up on Facebook for people to check out and read and decide for themselves. But it is fascinating. So we have this year to kind of figure out some of the details and really understand how it's going to work. But as you pointed out, we here in Missoula area have some restaurants that would be affected by it. And certainly some of those restaurants are already serving local beers because they've done a good job. But this is a federal law that's going to affect a lot of people. But so thank you, Brooke, for sharing insight on that.
Absolutely.
And we will get you back on the show again sooner than later just to talk about more fun stuff.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
I'd love that. Hopefully I'll come bearing better news next time.
Oh, no, I know. Yeah. Well, we do it. It would likable. How can people get a hold of you? Maybe they got questions. Maybe somebody's hearing this and they want some information.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can always give me a shout. My website is Bristow Beverage Law. All my contact information's on there, phone number, Instagram, email, Facebook, Twitter, every single way you could possibly get a hold of somebody. We have that. So I'm always happy to answer anybody's questions. And, if you're looking to start a brewery or whatever, we'll get you going on the right way and figure out who you need to talk to and what you need to do. But that's our business, and we love helping the craft beer culture grow, and we're excited about what's going on in Western Montana. So
great. Well,
glad to be on the show today.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we had a beer in Asheville, North Carolina, and great brewery, and we'll do it. We'll make a plan to do it again this year.
I love it. That sounds great.
All right. Now, thank you so much.
All right, Ryan. Thank you.
On this week's show, I've got Lynette Jones with Katabatic Brewing Company. They're out in Livingston, Montana. We're on the phone with Lynette. Thank you for joining us this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So before we dive into all the great things that you're doing at Katabatic, I know that there was a little bit of a Missoula tie to where you guys are now and where you came from. So what was your connection here?
Bryce lived there for about 20 years, and I lived there for about 13 years. Bryce moved there when he was a young kid of 18 years old, right out of high school.
Oh, fun.
And I came over for grad school, got my master's in social work, and stayed there, and that's where we met as well.
Oh, man. And you were homebrewing here, I believe, right? Were you involved with the club?
Yep, we were in the Zoo City Zimmergis.
Okay.
And did a lot of homebrewing.
So what year did you then move out to make your dreams come pro?
Well, we got married in 2014, and 2 months after we got married, we moved to Livingston.
Ah.
So,
Was that the honeymoon? Was that the plan for the honeymoon to
the
go
honeymoon
open a
was
brewery?
in New Mexico, where Bryce was fighting fires. So I spent the time with the dogs.
Okay. Oh, man.
Yep.
Awesome. So you opened then, when did you open your doors for Katabatic Brewing?
We opened in September of 2000. Oh, wait, no, I guess I should go back. We actually moved here in 2000. I don't even know what year it is anymore. In 2013. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
Apparently that's when we got married, too. And then...
By the way, Valentine's Day is coming up in case you need to know. So just put that on your calendar.
And then we actually opened it in September of 2014. So
Okay. Year and a half now then you've been doing this.
Currently.
Excellent. So what size system are you on?
We are on a 7-barrel system.
Okay. And how many beers do you typically have on tap? And then do you specialize in any styles or?
Yeah, we have 4. We usually have 8 beers on tap, and we always have our 4 standards. We have our American Hefeweizen, our Katabatic IPA, Katabatic American Pale Ale, and well as our Katabatic Scotch Ale. The rotators are seasonal, and we are actually starting in in March. We're going to start our special Thursday releases, which are Brewer's Choice. And these are sort of our smaller pilot batches, as well as we are doing some bourbon barrel-aged Scotch Ale, too. And we're going to start playing with some of our other beers in different barrels as well.
Sounds good. Well, other than getting to the brewery, which I would recommend to anyone, can they find your beers anywhere else?
Yes, we actually are on tap in several locations. We are on tap in Missoula at the Dram Shop and the Rhino. And I think Summer Sun might still have some of our anniversary ale cans. We just canned 1 beer for our anniversary with the Mobile Canning Company. And we are also on tap in Bozeman, Big Sky, Belgrade, Gardner, Three Forks. So kind of in our region over here, we're on tap in quite a few places.
Excellent. I read a story, but I'd like to hear it from you about the name Katabatic, what it means, and why you chose that one.
Yeah, Katabatic is basically a severe cold downslope wind that's common in Livingston, Montana. So a lot of times what you'll see in the newspaper is that a semi flipped over on I-90 by Livingston, and those are the Katabatic winds.
Okay.
They often close down our highway and do all that fun stuff over here.
But we should clarify, there's no correlation between drinking beer and then falling down, correct?
Correct.
With that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Excellent. All right, we just want to make sure you weren't promising anything in particular for that.
No.
What's been the inspiration for beer styles? You have a brewer, right? So Bryce is kind of head of operations there and planning. But is there any particular approach? Do you do any lagers? Is it just ales? Is it hop forward?
We are, and we do focus on ales. We've done 1 lager for October. We are Oktoberfest. And so we do focus on the ales, and we definitely, I would say, and most people probably agree that have been here, that we definitely are much more hop forward. We do like an American Brown, which is hopped. Our Imperial Red IPA was very nicely hopped. Mm-hmm. So we do like to balance our malt out with hops without taking it overboard.
Okay.
And a lot of our customers really actually who say, well, I'm not a hop fan, actually really do like the flavors of our beer with the hops in it because we balance it. We don't overdo it, but we make sure that you can at least taste the hops a little bit in every beer that we do.
Yeah. What I like about your story is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you both went from home brewers to opening your own place. And I'm sure and I've met many of them, there are so many home brewers out there that are always thinking about taking that leap. Do you have any advice to any listeners that might be in that same boat and want to do their own thing? What'd you learn by actually doing it?
Yeah, I think that, our business model was to bring our ideas and our recipes to the table, but really make sure that we hired somebody with the knowledge and experience to run a 7-barrel and or bigger system down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the biggest challenges when you're going from home brewing to commercial brewing is just the equipment and the science behind it and all of the nuances that come with that larger equipment and how to do everything correct to make the beer consistent and high quality. And so one of the things that we did was we wanted to bring the recipes in, and we definitely have a lot of say in how the beers turn out and what ingredients we look at, but we really rely on our brewer to finalize that recipe and bring it to the table at the quality that you see. And, I don't think Bryce and I off the bat would have been able to just do that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Sounds smart. You still have the creative part in there, and but you have people or a person that really knows larger systems, and but I appreciate you hearing you say consistency is key, because that's, to me, have been a hallmark for good beer.
Yeah, and I think with the rise in the number of breweries, consistency is, you have to come out with consistency.
Right.
There's a lot more people that have beer knowledge and beer flavor knowledge, and if you come out with that consistency, you do a lot better in the forerun.
Yeah, excellent. So we're early in 2016, but what does 2016 look like for Katabatic Brewing? And that could be brew fests that you might be part of, where people can come and try your beer, or distribution or packaging or expansion, or, just focusing on making more good beer.
So last year we started a brew fest here in Livingston. It's called Tap Into Montana. And this year it's going to be on April 9th. And we actually do a whole craft beer week here. It's something that the brewery started. Obviously, we get that from Missoula.
Yes, thank you.
So it's April 3rd through the 9th. And there's a lot of local businesses, about 12 local businesses, which for Livingston is a lot of local businesses that do craft-related activities all week long. And then we have our Brew Fest. Last year there was probably 15 breweries, and we had about 350 people, which is really great for a first year.
Absolutely.
We're looking at this year doing about 25 breweries and 700 people. And we're just trying to build on that. What we really wanted, the reason why we chose the name Tap Into Montana, is we really want to make this eventually where we can get a large majority, if not like 99.9% of the breweries to come to this, and kind of making it a regional event for breweries as well as for Livingston.
Excellent. Good. Well, we'll try and make a deal. I'll try and come out to yours in early April, and then you guys come out for Missoula Craft Beer Week in late April.
I know. I think I saw my calendar.
Oh, good. Awesome. Good. Well, Lynette, thank you so much for spending time with us today on the show. And yes, we wish you good luck out in Livingston, and look forward to seeing you whenever you guys roll through.
All right. Great. Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you. That's Katabatic Brewing. You can find their beers on tap in Missoula at the Dram Shop and the Rhino, two great sponsors of this show. Go in there, check it out, and tell them that the Last Best Beer Show sent you. Thanks for joining me for another episode of The Last Best Beer Show. Love bringing the show to you each week on Fridays and Saturdays on Newstalk KGVO. I want you to save the date for February 17th. It is our next Business and Brews. And thanks to our show sponsor, the School of Extended and Lifelong Learning and The Last Best Beer Show, we will be presenting Crafting a Business Over Beers. Now, this event is going to feature a panel discussion with speakers from DraftWorks, Summer Sun, the Dram Shop, and other Missoula businesses. We'll get together about 6 p.m. Wednesday, February 17th. We'll have beer, we'll have food, and it will be at the Golf Course Restaurant, the Iron Grizz. Save the date, and until next week, Missoula, cheers.
Love craft beer and want to learn how to brew your own? Take this online course to get insider tips from Montana brewers and top secret recipes for local favorites.